Hello, 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 hello. I'm finally live. Oh my goodness. Took me forever. Took me long enough, right? Man, how was y'all's week this week? Mine was pretty good. Couldn't complain much, really. Um, Finally fixed that weird part of my hair. It's on this side. This weird part of my hair that was just sticking out. I hated it. Had to like go in the go in the freaking bathroom and just like what is that? Scissor over comb? Yeah, scissor over comb on my hair. Just waiting for a few more people. Well, besides that, it's been a weird week for culture, though. Let me get to my bookmarks. Wendy's is going up. I think that's what I'm going to open up with. What do I look like when I do this? But yes, y'all. Bless a good Friday. Man, isn't this a glorious Friday? The day when the Logos came and sacrificed himself for us. Wow. How amazing could that be? And I will talk more about that towards the end, and I'm probably going to be on a little bit longer today because it is Good Friday. But besides that, let's get into it. Oh man, I hate it whenever. So I don't know if y'all know this, but like freaking sometimes these voice activated things like just activate even when you don't say their name. Like I hate that. Like just now I'm like, I finally got my music thing figured out, right? Um yeah. And so I'm basically just playing music from my phone while while doing this. Today I got this drink right here. It's actually pretty bad. I was like, let me try something different, something other than liquid death. And I pretty much regret it, to be honest. It's not my favorite. I'm not really into the fake sweeteners. And like I'll drink a diet soda every now and again, I just definitely don't want corn syrup in my soda, you know what I mean? And so I totally try to avoid things like that. Um but I was like, you know what? It's been a while since I had like, you know, and like it's it's kind of funny to me. They call these things water, carbonated water and everything, but I feel like once you're starting to put like artificial sweetener in there and like artificial flavors and stuff like that, or no artificial flavor, whatever that means. I mean, it is like juices and stuff, but then there's like other things in there that aren't like totally awesome. I just wanted to try it. I just wanted to try it. And it's basically a soda. It's basically a diet freaking soda. So I wouldn't buy it for hydration. But it does have like vitamin B6 and vitamin B12. Something called pantothenic acid. Pantothenic acid. Yeah, I don't know what pantothenic acid is. Um but yeah. Um since it, again, I'm just letting everybody know because there's more people here. I am gonna go a little bit longer today because it is Good Friday, and I just want to talk about religion a little, spirituality. Um, yeah, but before we get all into that, let's get into the culture and pop culture. Um, Wendy's is going after Katy Perry after after that bitch with the space. Oh my god, I don't know if y'all saw that, but that shit was hilarious. I think there's like pictures of her kissing the ground. Hold on, I didn't prepare for that part, but I think it's freaking hilarious that Wendy's is going after her. I mean, not really going after her. I mean, it's not like like they're trying to like take her down or anything. But I think it's hilarious. They're memeing the shit out of her. I mean, is this even like in like a zero gravity environment? But it looks like they're more like free falling to me. I don't know. It looks fake. I think that's the reason why everybody's like memeing the shit out of her right now because she's like talking like it's like some like big thing. And I think, I forgot who said it or who it was. But they said that it was like trying to prove that like anybody could go to space. Like the fact that, Gail and Katy Perry and those other women like went to space. Like the whole point of it was supposedly to prove that anybody could go to space if these idiots can. I was like, actually, I kind of believe that because, like, it's good advertisement. Like, not only do you have celebrities in there, but you have celebrities that are known to like say some like retarded shit, like they're super profound. But yeah, let's continue that video real quick. What does that fucking? What does that mean? What does that freaking mean? Like, I don't even know who this is. Oh, okay, it's Nick Sorter. Yeah, okay, yeah, he's a good guy. Um, but I don't know. I have to repeat that part again. Like, I don't think it. Yeah, it didn't really stick for me. Oh yeah, yeah. What does that mean? you don't you don't realize how much love you have to give until you launch. What does that mean? Like, what is? I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, I'm trying to understand. Like, what does she think she did? You know what I mean? Like, she didn't really break any barriers. She didn't break a glass ceiling or anything like that. I don't think. We have women in the International Space Station, right? Like, I'm just trying to understand, like, why it's so fucking momentous, bro. And like, that's why I really believe that. I feel like it's a. That's why I really believe when people say like this is an advertisement ploy. Like this is. It's obvious that we are in an era where not only can your car drive you now, to places, like we're literally at that point. But you now have like China doing like the flying taxis. Like I don't think we should be completely utilizing those yet because like God knows like what kind of accidents or anything. But maybe that's a wrong argument. You know what I mean? Like I'm willing to accept that. Maybe I'm not thinking of that the right way. I think that maybe the fact of the matter is that we have like too many laws like in the way of innovation. So you have people like the Chinese communists. They can like do whatever the hell they want to because that's the way they are, and they don't really give a shit like what happens to people. So they just like move forward, without like thinking too much about the threat of other people. But of course, in the U.S., we got to think about those things, especially when it comes to the ideas of insurance and corporations and things of that nature. Like those laws are really important. And yeah, I mean, like all those laws are meant to protect us and the companies. So I couldn't really speak too much on it. I don't like really have anything incorporated except for like of course things with the Miss Gordon and Nazarene. There is certain things that you have to like be prepared for, and like have people sign and things of that nature when people, do join orders and stuff like that. It's not like, and people like always think it's weird, like, when they try to join something and they get NDAs and stuff like that. I don't think you realize, but like any job that you go to, you're signing non-disclosure agreement papers every time. Like there's certain things that they don't want you to talk about. And you probably don't even think about it because it's probably part of your corporate culture to, like, not go out and talk about certain things. You know what I mean? Like y'all know it's not a good idea because, it's in the culture of your business. But yeah, let's continue this video. There was another thing I need to highlight too about the machine that she's talking about. I don't know. A machine. It's a machine. It's called a rocket, lady. I think that's freaking hilarious. I need to find a picture of the capsule. That's not a very good one. Terrence Williams. Let's see. Let's see how. No. Yeah, I don't think. Okay, I don't care about the launch. Okay. Okay, here we go. 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 Okay, let's see if we can find a better view of it. Okay. Look at that, y'all. There is nothing wrong with that thing. And like, I don't know if you'll know this, but like, these capsules are like never just pure white when they like fall to the ground. Okay. Um, they're usually all burned up and shit because, it's like left orbit or it's like up in orbit or, wherever the hell even Katy Perry was. Well, no. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, when you're up in orbit and like whenever you've like broken that like seal, the firmament. um, once you do that, when you're falling back, there's like a shitload of friction, right? Like there's so much friction, like the capsule itself, like literally lights on fire, is scaved, it heats up, everything like that. Um, this just speaks to like how not far in space they were. They were in, like they were still, within the greater atmosphere of the earth. You know what I'm saying? Like I know there's like very far points of the atmosphere, but it's that's more impressive when you think, like what's so impressive to be below a satellite. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe if you were in like low Earth orbit, like where you're with the satellites and everything, like where Elon Musk like does his like uh satellites and everything. Uh but yeah, I don't I don't find it very impressive that like, oh, you're like, that's another thing. Like it's not that far into space. Yeah. It's actually kind of overhyped really. I think that's why people are making fun of it. But I don't want to belabor that point. Let's move on. Let me get back to my. Oh, yeah, yeah, there we go. Um, I don't know if y'all heard, but Jacob Couch has died, and I wouldn't be surprised if you've never heard of Jacob Couch. Um, it's something that's been talked about for a while now. This poor guy was like attacked by this person here. I can't tell if it's a man or a woman. I'm pretty sure it's a woman, I guess. Looks like a woman. I don't know. But he was attacked while he was at the bus stop with his family. And he's now finally passed away. And it's just horrific. It's just horrific. And it's really weird because like a lot of this like the reason why I wouldn't be surprised that you never heard of Jacob Couch is because the media always tries to cover up, like black on white violence and stuff like that. Like, and, of course, black on black violence and things of that nature. They're always trying to push that narrative that white people are violent, and white people are violent, especially to minorities of any kind. And, that's just like verifiably false. Like, if you look at all of the data on crime statistics and things of that nature, and yes, you do have to take it for a per capita basis because it, if you're looking at demographics across the country and stuff like that, and you are trying to suss out patterns, because of crime and things of that nature, like that's just good policing. You know what I mean? There was a time where cops, if you were like a black African American man. I mean, yeah, if you're that made no sense. If you're a black African American man, but if you're an African American man walking on the street and you had like maybe a certain color bandana on and your pants are sagging and things of that nature, and like you looked like you were a gangster or something, you know what I mean? They would stop you for the very fact of like, they're trying to create an environment of prevention of crime. You know what I'm saying? So like, if they see a gang member, a possible gang member, they want to create an environment for that gang member where they don't feel welcomed, right? Like that would make sense. But then culture kind of turned it around, like pop culture turned it around, especially in the era of wokeness, that the cops were being racist, which maybe some of them were. It could be, whatever. I mean, it's not just whatever, but I know there is cases of cops being racist. Like, there are racist people out there, but I'm pretty sure that racism, well, it used to be, was a like not a major thing. Um, and when I say used to be, I'm talking about like like late '90s, early 2000s. But then, like, by the second term of Obama, and then especially to now, like racism has just like reached a fever pitch. And what's crazy to me because like, and it's crazy to me because I was raised in a school system, a public school system, like in Texas, like and everything like that. But trust me, that means nothing. Like, it's funny because like a lot of liberals will, or a lot of leftists will say like, "Oh, you were raised in Texas, that's why you're like conservative." Like, no, actually, growing up, I was very liberal, and to this day, my parents are very liberal people. Um, to the point like beyond like the friction I have like with the past of my parents and stuff like that, like I have even more friction with them when it comes to like some of their political views and things of that nature, and their understanding of the culture and things of that nature. But anyway, people say like, "Oh, you're conservative, that's why you came from a conservative place, that's why you have a conservative mindset." Like, no, I was as leftist as it gets. And whenever I started like actually getting active into politics and started like learning and getting into these things, I was completely shocked because like I didn't know black people could be racist. I know that sounds dumb and naive, but like I really thought that only white people could be racist. Like, but that just goes to show you, like, sometimes these things really aren't like a matter of intelligence and things like that. If you are in an environment where these things are echoed and and things of that nature, like you're raised into it, you're gonna fucking believe it. You know what I mean? Like, and it was really funny because like my grandma, uh she, used to say all the time, like, oh, like black people have like a chip on their shoulder, and it's really unfortunate because like, like we could be friends and blah blah blah. And I thought, like, that's a really weird thing to say, you racist old white lady. And of course I wouldn't say this to her, but well, not until I got older. Trust me, like I'm telling you, I used to be a liberal. Um and from I really didn't get out of my brainwashing. Like I started to get out of the brainwashing by 2013 when I started realizing certain weird things about like Obama and the environment of how things are escalating. Like I could just see it so plain as day because like I said, I was getting more active. And man, my family, like I said, we're very liberal, and my mother, separated from my father again, for good reasons, like that's a whole story. Like, so like that'll probably be for another episode or something like that. But long story short, my mom had moved to Houston, and like I had to move back in with my mother. And so we basically all went to Houston with my grandma. And like, oh God. At the time, like I said, I was very liberal, and I used to get into fights with my grandmother. And like, and like thank God I've like been able to since then to apologize for, for like these kind these arguments where I always thought I was so right. um but that's just like growing up, really, especially in this era. I really wouldn't be surprised if my story is actually more common than not, especially for yeah, especially for like latter millennials. Yeah, I really believe that. Like, it seems like people, yeah, the millennials born from like 91 to 96 tend to have like more Gen Z energy. Now, of course, we remember all of the cultural things from, the 90s and stuff like that. Like, pizza buffets were like awesome and shit like that, like Pizza Inn and stuff like that. But, and like really cool like kids arcades and like the malls and stuff like that. You don't really see arcades and malls nowadays. I know you can go to some of them. Like here on the East Coast, I was actually impressed because like they still had like arcades in the mall. For some reason in Dallas and Mesquite, in Texas, arcades have just like died out really bad. And I think that speaks more to like how people are just not having kids in that area, to be honest with you, which that's a whole problem. But anyway, um, just to highlight, the fact, you know, of media manipulation. Let's look here. Tim Pool from Timcast IRL, and of course his morning show and the Culture War and the Moonies and whatever else he has. Like, this man is busy. Um, he highlights here, and of course this is also from the Trump administration, I believe. How MSNBC starts to cut off Trump as he starts to tell the truth about this illegal alien that they sent back to El Salvador, I believe it is. Yes. And what is crazy is like they keep trying to get this guy back, and this guy is literally a MS-13 gang member. Like, it's been proven. They have documents everything. And the left is like, you're violating his rights, you are putting an innocent man in jail and shit like that. And I don't get it. I really just don't get it. Like, these people just want the destruction of this country. They really do. You got like these fucking bozos and the government and these assholes and fucking media just like constantly lying to people, just lying and lying and lying. And then like, you have people like Trump, whatever you may think about him or whatever, he's like trying to break through and like narratives and stuff like that and try to speak the truth. And he just gets cut off by the media. That's such bullshit. It's such bullshit. You can tell that. I mean, it's so fucking obvious to me, right? Like during Obama's era, I mean, and like remember he like legalized propaganda, right? So he basically brought back Project Mockingbird, or if it ever left, he just ended up amplifying it. You know what I mean? And he gave that message a left wing bias, which never, matches up to reality. And that's why everybody's having so much friction with the media and stuff right now, because reality has a right wing bias and the left wing media is always spouting lies. Like it is just for them, for the fact that they're spreading this, any narrative like that would be a lie in the first place because of the like conservative bias of reality. Like, you gotta hunt, eat, and sleep and conserve energy and things like that. Like this is just natural things of life that if you're looking at reality properly, it's going to inform your politics to some level. Um, but these people, because they're trying to break us out of our nature, and not in a good way, okay? Because like, you have like the occult disciplines and like, spiritual disciplines and mystical ways of thinking that like breaks you out of like a nature of, being a robot and liberating yourself to think freely. You know what I'm saying? But this is not what they're trying to do. I mean, they try to shape it like that, right? They try to say like, oh, we're free thinkers and that's why we're talking like that. But then every freaking why is every mainstream media outlet saying and echoing the same thing? It makes no sense. And then you only have Fox News that like half-asses a conservative message. It's so wild to me. It's so wild how leftists can't see it. And it's, and it shows though. It shows that they're totally like out of their mind, because like, first it used to be such a small minority of people saying like, oh, Obama is like, doing these things wrong and stuff like that. And like, man, like America just like really went left wing for Obama, you know what I'm saying? And whenever we, went that direction and created a really small boat of minority of people who saw what was going on. And of course that grew and grew and grew. And now we're at a point where like almost, God, I would say like 60% of the country is an agreement that, the left has like gone way too far and like their crazy ass violence needs to be stopped. Everybody just wants justice at this point. Well, if you don't believe me that the left is like totally out of their fucking mind, you know, here is this guy, and let me preface it with this, okay? I know anybody who follows me on X knows that I talk about Civil War a lot. And I talk about how Trump needs to get more aggressive because the left is becoming so aggressive. And I've been saying that they're going to keep pushing until we're forced into a civil war. I'm sorry. I really need to stop drinking carbonated drinks when I'm doing this. I'm so sorry. uh, but these people are completely delusional. And they think that Trump is like violating the Constitution. They think Trump is breaking laws and things of that nature. But they don't realize that Joe Biden for years, and I'm not talking about just like, whenever he was president, but Joe Biden for years, from when he started Congress to when he was vice president under Obama and shit like that, he broke the law so hard. He helped obfuscate the Constitution. He broke every responsibility and has such dereliction of duty. I can't even fucking express it. And these people don't see that. None of them. None of them. And like, don't call me left or right when it comes to this, because I voted Obama. I wasn't even old enough to fucking even vote for George Bush, but I thought he was a goddamn asshole because of 9/11, right? And fucking yeah. So like, I'm pretty much a middle of the road type of guy by now. But the more the left keeps pushing, the more radical I feel. It's crazy. Like, I can't help it. It's like look what this guy is saying. Like, read that. The ultimate source of political power is and always will be violence. Okay, that's true. Like, the government has a monopoly on violence. Like, and that's the reason why we have like certain dynamics in the Constitution. Like, that's why there has to be like, 2/3 vote for something and things of that nature, because like, it's all about power dynamics and like who has the ability to express violence if they don't get their way. But of course, like, we have like minority protections to counterbalance that. And of course, we protect certain things like speech and things of that nature. Even though, like, of course, we have limitations on speech, and we have to have limitations on speech. But like, I don't want to get into that discussion. Well, maybe we should, because like, this guy is being fucking crazy. Okay, he's talking about having to fucking kill people. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, like, you need to take the left seriously. And when they say they're going to do something, especially when it comes to acts of violence, like, look at everything they've done so far. They have bombed Tesla stations. Look at the George Floyd Summer of Love riots. Trump didn't do shit when that happened, and he should have. He should have gone in there with the fucking National Guard and maybe even like, suspended, habeas corpus or whatever the fuck it's called, and like had the military out there. But it was ridiculous how these people like just destroyed literally cars and businesses and things like that. And people were like, oh, don't, like, Black Lives Matter, please don't attack my restaurant, whatever. And then these people say that, like, oh, because of right-wing violence, we really need to start considering, like, if we're going to have to kill right-wing people. This is the left saying this. This is not the right saying this. The only thing that the right has ever said, and like, the only thing that I have ever said, is that we are afraid that the left is pushing us into a civil war. Like, we are being backed up in a fucking corner while these people are saying, stop getting closer to me. It's like, look, okay, look, here, I'm a leftist, okay? Uh, I need a, where's a weapon? Okay, here, look, I'll use my cross as a weapon. Hey, this is a leftist, okay? Don't get fucking near me. I'm gonna have to protect myself. they, they cry like they're victims, like, you know, they're being pushed in the corner. But no, 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 no. They sit there and they call, you know, the right racist, all kinds of god awful things. Look what happened to the people at January 6th. And like, you know, oh, you know, like, you got to look into the facts of that, because it's not cut and dry, all the facts there, okay? We know for a long time that the FBI has been infiltrating right-wing militias, which militias are should be completely legal, because does the Constitution not say to have a proper militia? You know, blah blah blah. You know, Second Amendment. Come on. And then they infiltrate these militias like they're doing something insidious, and then they plant in these militias' heads the idea to revolt and things of that nature. They come up with the plans. It's it's in all of the FBI documents and stuff like that. Like, you can't bullshit that shit no more. Like, come on, we're in the era of internet. If you don't fucking believe me, god damn it, go do the research. Okay, but then you have assholes like this saying like, and let me read the intro to this, and like, we might read a little bit more, because this is just like so insidious, so dark. When Must We Kill Them? By Nicholas Decker. Evil has come to America. The present administration is engaged in barbarism. It has arbitrarily imprisoned its opponents, revoked the visas of thousands of students, imposed taxes upon us without consent, and seeks to destroy the institutions which oppose it. Its leader has threatened those who produce unfavorable coverage and suggested that their licenses be revoked. It has been deprived us. It has deprived us in many cases of trial by jury. It has been subjected us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution, and then it continues on. That's fucking crazy. That's literally what Biden did to people all through his fucking administration. How? Where is fucking Trump raising taxes? Okay? If you look at all the numbers, gas prices have gone down. A lot of things have already started going down because of Trump. And like, guys, this is fucking bad. This is fucking bad that you have people that believe this. Because, like, look, this has over 8 million views. Do you think that's just right wing people coming to him and freaking the hell out because he's being stupid and saying things that will he's inciting violence? Like, how many times has the left said, and I'm talking about like on CNN, MSNBC, and I'm talking about you know, like representatives of Congress, you know, the like senators and things. How many times have they said that Trump is inciting violence? When nothing he said, I like this song. When nothing he said like would even be could even be considered as inciting violence. Let's be real. Because they clip the fuck out of what he says, okay? But this is legitimate. This is like, you can take the left verbatim, because the proof is in the fucking pudding, man. Like, there's no other way to be more clear about it. It really isn't. And as long as we have people that believe this, it's it's just so disheartening, okay? Because like, you know, it's really funny because I don't know if y'all realize this, but the left caused the Civil War back in the 1800s in America. And you know how they did it, of course, is by like being unwilling to give up slavery and being frustrated about specific taxation and things of that nature. But the taxes were meant, from what I understand, the taxes were meant to force them to like stop using slave labor and things of that nature. But it didn't really work out that way because like slave labor like gives you like so much capital to like, you know, to breathe with. You know what I'm saying? Um, but they were trying to force them to like switch over to the cotton gin and things. If I'm understanding correctly, and you know, like there's so many parallels to you know to the left back then to the left now because they want the illegals here to you know to take these remedial jobs that Americans don't want. Okay, that's such bullshit. Okay, that's like if the remedial jobs were open, there would be Americans there to fill it. Like people want to make money, like they're hurting for it. Okay, and you know people will like cite like things like, oh well, you know, then why don't people take this job or this job? And it's because like, do you not realize that job takes specific licensing or it takes a specific degree, or maybe people have you know like signed up for that job, but there's been plenty of times where I signed up for jobs, um and you know in this current environment, like you know not too long ago, where they act like they're putting out a you know position, but these positions are not real a lot of times. Like I will have friends like working and things, I'm like trying to get a job there because I find out there's an opening, and yeah, they like they create these open. I don't really understand it, but I believe there's some kind of financial incentive to create these positions for these companies, and then they you know of course they don't really need to fill it because they really had the money to one bring in a new hire and like you know start insurance package blah blah blah. But anyway, let's continue with this assholes you know thing. And it's funny because like he wrote this whole thing and there is not one single citation. Not one single fucking citation. You know, if you're going to talk about like, oh, these people are doing such horrible things and that we need to think about killing them, I want to see some fucking evidence, man. Like, what the hell? Like, it upsets me incredibly because, you know, I'll tell you in a minute, but let's just go into it. Um, its leader has deprived us in many cases, trial by jury, which sounds more like people from January 6th. Okay, it has subjected us to jurisdiction foreign to our constitution. Jurisdiction foreign to our constitution, dude. That's literally y'all giving money to Zelensky and all these other people, and has transported us beyond seas to be imprisoned for pretend offenses. And this guy is talking to that. I'm talking about that Garcia guy. See, like he's trying to manipulate the moment. He's trying to use the energy of the moment. People are upset about this, like you know, this MS-13 member, you know, that was sent back to his country. Like I said, people are upset about that. And it makes no fucking sense because he's an MS-13 member. And he should be sent back to his country to be in prison and face the charges of his country. Makes no sense. Well, anyway, he goes on. It has scorn orders of the court. Actually, Trump is staying so on point with the court orders that it's pissing me off, really. I wish he would ignore some of these judges because these judges are obviously committing judicial overreach. Court orders and threatens to alter fundamentally our form of government. It has pardoned its thugs. Are you talking about Biden with Fauci? And extorted the lawyers who defended its opponents. If these actions become normal, the government could arrest anyone and deport them to prisons in foreign land without hope or of redress for no reason. And like, mind you, this guy is a PhD student. Okay, this guy is trying to get his PhD. Like, he's in the program. He's working on it. He's working on his thesis. Okay. How much y'all want to bet it's going to be on like right wing violence? God. There is no guard or protection against it. If this theory prevails, then it is the end of America as a free nation. I do not wish for this essay to be a mere catalog of outrages. The conduct of the present administration is as okay. A mere catalog of outrages. It sounds like is fucking put it through ChatGPT. The conduct of the present administration is as well known to you as it is to myself, and can be understood by any sensible person. On it, no further comment is ventured. What remains for us is to decide is when we fight. What remains for us to decide is when we fight. You've been fighting the whole time. Sorry, y'all. If the present administration wills it, it could sweep away the courts. It could sweep away democracy. It could sweep away freedom. I mean, like, couldn't you really literally say that about any administration? And like, one, look at Trump's first administration. Did they do any of that shit? Did they take away anybody's rights? Makes no fucking sense. Here we are now, and Trump has a mandate, and 2/3 of the country pretty much voted for him. Well, more than half, okay, voted for Trump, and he has a mandate from the people to get rid of these people because that's what he campaigned on. If he doesn't do what he campaigned on, then what would be the fucking point? Is that, I mean, like, you know, and that's the kind of thing that the fucking left wants to perpetuate, right? Where people just like promise you shit and then like don't deliver at all. Okay? Like, there might be many of us on Trump's side that are frustrated by how, you know, how he's kind of like slow walking all these like arrests and shit like that. But the man is, you know, he's doing this in a slow manner because he has to make sure this is legitimate, because he wants this to be legitimate. You know, he could be so much crazier about this. Look at what Abraham Lincoln did. I probably said this like 5 times already. I feel like I already have, just in this conversation. But if you look at the history of Abraham Lincoln and the first Civil War, the Constitution was broken constantly because the thing is that when half of the country goes rogue, you can't protect it. You have to protect the Constitution and the country from enemies, foreign and domestic. Okay? So sometimes the executive branch has to take specific privileges that, you know, should be only summoned in moments of emergency. And that's why we have emergency powers clauses. So like, these people talk like you can just do this, you can just do these things. But like they want it to happen. They want the Civil War environment. They want an excuse. Like it's really funny because Abraham Lincoln had to put a stop to it. He had to say, okay, through executive order, I am ending slavery. He put out the Emancipation Proclamation. Slavery was ended and shit like that. And this was a good thing. Trump does these things like tries to go after human trafficking through executive order, tries to go after violence at the border or violence flowing in from the border. And he's doing it through executive order, and people say, well, he's overreaching. And it's like, no, these are emergency powers clauses. These are emergency times actions. And the fact that we've had presidents that have wound up the system so much to the point to where like Trump had to like write like so many executive orders just reversing a lot of the actions that were done in previous administrations speaks to the matter of like how fucked the system has been for so long. And people like this who are using ChatGPT to make these essays that have no citations in them, no evidence whatsoever of the violence and things that they're talking about, want to call on for violence. When should we kill them? No, you don't have the right to say that. And like I said before, the right hasn't even said anything like that. All the right has ever said is that we are afraid a civil war is going to begin. We're afraid of it. Everybody should be afraid of it. Everybody should be afraid of a civil war starting. Like, you don't want a fucking civil war to start. You don't want to fight with your brothers, your cousins, and shit like that, because that's what fucking happens in civil war, dude. Like, people take ideological, stances on things. Like, look at the history of the Civil War and look how West Virginia and Virginia split. That's literally brothers and cousins fucking fighting with each other. Things like fucking people in the South were called fucking yellow bellies. They called them yellow belly carpetbaggers back in the day. You know why? Because these people would like take carpets and stuff like that and like get all their shit and like go more towards the north and shit like that. And, to resettle because they wanted to be part of the Union Army and fight against slavery. This is the same thing happening now, except things are set up in such a way that like the left is concentrated in the cities. So that will be more interesting when it finally plays out. And this is like something I talk about all the time, is that don't be afraid of the struggle, man. Don't be afraid of like these bad things happening. Like, be scared, and be like thoughtful with the idea that you don't want violence to happen and that you don't want these things to happen. But at the same time, like, don't fill yourself up with fear such that you ignore these things, that you tell yourself it's better to ignore these things than to face the reality of what is. Because if we are doing the great work to, like unveil, the truth, then what good is hiding from the reality of what's before us? Like, we have an opportunity now with internet and mass communication to see all these things, to have a better idea of the ways of the world that like only leaders in the past and stuff like really only had a perspective only they really had, because they were all communicating with each other one way or another. Like, now we can see it for ourselves. Now we can see when things go down. We don't have to have anybody telling us, and we don't, and it's not so much easy. It's not so much easier now to like, spin narratives, and that's why we are where we are now. Like we're in an apocalypse. This is Revelation. And like just to nail this home, like right before I like started to take this to a like super religious point. Like, look at this. This is everything us and the right have been fighting for. And this is what really broke the camel's back. This is a straw that broke the camel's back. Is when people start fucking with kids, right? And of course, like we all like most of us agreed, like, okay, this has finally gotten to a point to where it's like, no, we got to protect the kids. Like, this is ridiculous. This is evil. No. So, like, listen to this. This is a teacher, mind you. This is a teacher. It's like someone you're supposed to like trust, to like raise your kids, like, stuff like that. But you have to realize, like, everyone's human. And, not only that, but, a lot of these teachers are leftists because they came out of these universities. So they have a very fucking insidious agenda, whether they see it or not. Like I said, a lot of these people are fucking brainwashed, bro. And so, like, a lot of them don't realize, like, how bad this shit sounds until they start having a conversation with someone outside their bubble. And you will see this for a fact whenever this guy starts to speak to this teacher, because you can see in her body language. You can see how, like, she flushes, her cheeks flush and things of that nature. You will see it all. And, like, these are signs that, like, she is having she's having an issue with holding up the reality that she believes with what the truth she's being confronted with. Okay? So just watch this. First of all, like, did you see that? That was a manipulation. That was straight up a manipulation. Like, in the middle of this conversation, talking about how it's inappropriate to, talk to kids about sex, especially in this nature. She is going off and saying, don't you think it's a little homophobic that you said queer sex is disgusting? Like, dude, okay, look, first of all, I'm fucking gay. Okay? I don't give a fuck anybody who fucking cares, okay? I mean, yeah, like, I don't care who fucking knows or any shit like that. Like, I'm open, whatever. I just don't, like, I don't know, I guess I don't really carry myself like that and bullshit like that. But I never in 100 years in a conversation like this would I be like, you hurt my feelings. You said the kind of sex I have is disgusting. Where is your head? And, like, that's how you know it's brainwash. And look, she looks so mad and upset. She looks like an autistic retard. See? He wasn't. See, that's what I'm saying. It's a fucking manipulation because, like, boom, he wasn't even fucking talking about that. He wasn't even talking about gay sex, queer sex. He was talking about that shit in front of kids. That's disgusting. And it is. It is. I think when a kid finally asks you, like, where Where do babies come from? I think it's perfectly fine to talk to them about sex in a way of saying when a mommy and a daddy love each other, they lay together. And after they lay together, mommy grows a baby in the stomach. And that baby comes out 9 months later, you know? And then you teach them, pee pee vajiji. You know what I mean? And then you tell them, if anybody fucking touches you down there, tell me about it. And that's like perfect, like that's the perfect natural way to teach kids stranger danger and shit like that. But you probably should teach stranger danger before they start asking about where babies come from, to be quite honest with you, especially with teachers and daycare people like this. Oh, hold on, not just stranger danger, okay? Because teachers aren't strangers to them, right? I think it's like one of the bigger failures of that campaign, the stranger danger campaign, because 9 times out of 10, the person that is hurting the child in some way or another is most likely not a stranger. Like, you can look it up; it's on the FBI statistics. And you can see how uncomfortable they are with this conversation, and they will, and like that's the fucking weirdest thing about brainwashing, because you get that bypassing a logic, and they think they're embarrassed because of the way the guy is approaching the subject. But actually, this guy is approaching the subject as if he's talking to pretty much like a younger adult. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not like approaching this like as I don't know. I can't. I'm not really sure. Like, I can't really express it properly, to be honest with you. But yeah, like the way that she acts and the way that she understands the subject, it's a multitude of problems, and it all comes from their philosophy and stuff like that. And this is a good time to talk about why um I believe, as a Gnostic Christian, why Gnostics need to pull back from abandoning the ideas of the logos incarnation, and like even take on the idea of Sophia incarnating. It's so funny, but like in a lot of Gnostic spirituality and stuff like that, like just like the Catholics say, like there's no room for metaphor, that it's all literal. There's people on the Gnostic side that are like, it's all metaphorical. There's no room for literalism. And really, like my approach to Gnosticism, which is very like Valentinian, like Balacides and like other Gnostic sects that really believed in the incarnation of the Logos and celebrated the Eucharist. Now, some of those Gnostic sects that celebrated the Eucharist, like weren't necessarily believers of the resurrection and things of that nature, but they used it as a way to remember their teacher, remember the person who passed down, the idea of liberation, inner light, and being a light for others. And it's so important that we keep these things in our culture, that we teach children the light, that we teach each other the light, that we always go towards the light and work to be one with that light. Because we have, instead of like transcending the world, saying like everything in the material world is disgusting and evil, no, we need to approach it like we can alchemicalize this world. The Gnostic texts tell us that we are more powerful than the archons or Elohim that made us. That they couldn't make our soul. That our soul had to come from the Holy Spirit, had to come from the one true God that is beyond this world. And we need to honor that light we came from, because here, one of the things that like made me really truly understand like what was going on was when I started reading the prophecies of the Hebrews a little bit deeper. Um and I started understanding that Yaldabaoth, had a certain pattern of how he liked to forgive sin, and like make one clean and bring one closer to him so they can be in his version of what he called heaven, you know? And so like you follow these things and you got to go to his heaven, right? Um, Jesus' sacrifice is him saying like, you don't need to sacrifice things anymore to, give up your sin. Believe in me, believe in my sacrifice, and forever you're sinless. You're sinless. Not, and this doesn't mean that you shouldn't work to be a good person. Like, I mean, look at the philosophy of Christianity, look at the philosophy of Gnosticism. It always teaches transcendence, but at the same time teaches that you need to be a good person to even like fulfill the light in others. I mean, how selfish would it be to like take on the sinless state and just be a dick all your life and go to heaven and then like be the reason why a lot of people lost their way, you know? And these things like reflect on you. So like you can be sinless, you know, but you will be stuck in a karmic trap. Like, it's, man, it's so recursive sometimes. Like it feeds into itself. But like, that's just how mysteries are sometimes. But before I belabor that, I want to read this to you because like I think it's important, and like just to give you a good message on this Good Friday. And this is from Isaiah chapter 53. And this is a prophecy. And this is a Hebrew prophecy before they before anyone knew about crucifixion or anything like that. And we know that for a fact because of the dating of these documents and things of that nature. Isaiah is so old, this book, that there was the people that wrote it would have like wouldn't even understand the concept of like such a thing, of crucifixion. Like the Romans and them like weren't even in connection, like weren't talking at all. So anyway, let me read this. Who has believed what we have heard? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he grew up before him like a young plant, and like a root of dry ground. He had no form or majesty that we should look at him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by others, a man of suffering and acquainted with infirmity. And as one from whom others hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him to no account. Surely he has borne of infirmities and carried our diseases. Yet we accounted him stricken, struck down by God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the punishment that made us whole, and by his bruises we are healed. All we, like sheep, have gone astray. We have all turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. Like a lamb that is led to the slaughter, and like a sheep that before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. By a perversion of justice, he was taken away. Who could have imagined his future? For he was cut off from the land of the living, stricken for the transgression of my people. They made his grave with the wicked, and his tomb with the rich. Although he had done no violence, and there was no deceit in his mouth, yet it was the will of the Lord to crush him with pain. When you take his life, an offering for sin, he shall see his offspring and shall prolong his days. Through him, the will of the Lord shall prosper. Out of his anguish, he shall see light. He shall find satisfaction through his knowledge. The righteous one, my servant, shall make many righteous, and he shall bear my iniquities. Therefore, I will allot him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out himself to death, and was numbered with the transgressors. Yet he bore the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. Now, you have to understand this is written at least 300 years before Jesus was even born. This is as prophetic as it gets. And I just find that so profound. And there's like so much more to it too. You have to understand, like, not all Gnostic texts deny the sanctity of Christ. Please understand that. Not all Gnostic texts say that Jesus was just a man passing on knowledge like a Buddha. That is not the case in all Gnostic texts. Okay? And from my understanding, man, if you have this like book that's like already predicted so much, and then it says this is like God incarnated, and like, you know, we're literally going to kill him for our own sins and like stuff like that, you know, like these Hebrew people, because like you have to understand, like, you know, it was the Hebrew people that gave up Jesus to be killed by the Roman government. You know, it was the temple Hebrews that were upset with the preaching of Jesus and John the Baptist. So yeah, like it would I wouldn't be doing anything good in my faith, and it wouldn't be a good sign of how strong I believe in my faith and how much God has already helped me, that I would be silent about this kind of medicine. You know, if you don't believe in Jesus, and like, even if you want to start slowly, just say, Jesus, enter my life. I want to feel your love. Please fill my heart. Let me know the mysteries of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Say that simply, and your life will transform. Things will shift. And doing it now here on Good Friday, a representation of when Jesus died for us, went to hell, his blood consecrated the Saturnian realm. Man, if you're, like even if you just like study basic like occult, technology and knowledge and wisdom, and you like read the Bible and the Gnostic text together, especially in the right order and the right books, and I'm not saying like ignore some of the books, but like, read all of them, of course. But man, like I have read the Gnostic text and the Bible together while leaving out certain ones, and that has like revolutionized my understanding of like the occult art together. And it even like made it to where me and a group of people like revised a lot, like the occult um tree of life, and the occult Kabbalah. So, like, this is the end of the show and everything. I just want to say I love you guys, and like I hope you have a great rest of the week. This Wednesday, of course, another episode of Gnostic Revival will be out, and it's gonna be part 2 of Genesis Unveiled. And I love y'all so much. Come to Jesus. It doesn't hurt. Um, and like, what do you have to lose? Like, what does it mean about people who judge you and then disconnect from you because you believe in a certain thing? And just because you believe in a certain thing doesn't mean you have to verbally express every points of the faith. Some are called to talk about certain things. And, like I said before, I'm homosexual myself. And here I am. But I'm a Gnostic Christian, so there's a lot of room for breathing there. I just got to be honest. You know what I'm saying? But with that said, goodbye, everybody. I love you all. Please have a great rest of the week, rest of the day, and glory be to God. Y'all have a good one. Bye bye.